Hello, thank you for joining us on today's webinar presented by the National Disability Institute's Real Economic Impact Tour. Today's webinar is titled The Top 10 Tips for 2012 Tax Season. My name is Michael Rausch, and I'm National Program Director for the Real Economic Impact Tour at the National Disability Institute. For those of you who may not know much about the National Disability Institute, we are a national nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C. Our mission is to promote income preservation and asset development for persons with disabilities. We are to build a better economic future for persons with disabilities. In the National Disability Institute, we support our mission with a variety of activities, including our work with the Internal Revenue Service on the Real Economic Impact Tour. The Real Economic Impact Tour is a national movement of over 800 partners in over 100 cities across the country who are dedicated to improving the economic lives of people with disabilities and their families. I'd like to say thank you to our sponsors, NDI's Real Economic Impact Tour, Bank of America, Accord Therapeutics, the Institute for Economic Empowerment, Blood Institute, and, of course, the Internal Revenue Service. Today's webinar is sponsored by our partners at Walmart and the MyFreeTaxescom collaboration between the National Disability Institute, United Way Worldwide, and One Economy. A couple of keeping items before we get started. We want presenters share information, and at the end of the presentation, we will open it up for questions. If you were to ask a question, please type your question in the question and answer Q&A box, and I will field the questions to the presenter. Also, you note in the lower right-hand side of your screen that we have closed captioning available for participants who are deaf or hard of hearing, or where English is a second language. You can close this window if you don't want to see this by minimizing that multimedia window, or you can make the multimedia window with the closed captioning bigger by minimizing the windows above it, the chat window, the Q&A window, the panelist window. The occasion when, if we leave the PowerPoint to your applications on the presenter's desktop, you will see closed captioning on the right-hand side of your screen. Please note this webinar is being recorded, and the materials will be placed on the National Disability Institute's website at www.realeconomicimpact.org. From our main presenter, I would like to introduce Lee Davenport with One Economy to say a few words on MyFreeTaxes.com. So, Lee?
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for being on the call today. I want to talk a little about the MyFreeTaxes.com tour. It's a valuable project for parking to engage in new ways to reach people with very important tax services. MyFreeTaxes.com is a trigger for nonprofit agencies involved in financial education to take a new step into relationships around the benefits and services that are available online or in their communities. MyFreeTaxes.com is a project, as Michael said, started by the Walmart Foundation and in partnership with United Way Worldwide, the nonprofit that I work for, and National Disability Institute's Real Economic Impact Tour. We host a website called MyFreeTaxes.com, which last year received around 220,000 visitors, looking for content where they'd learn to find a place to get their tax prepared, like a Vitus site. They could learn valuable information around income, students or credits, or find the opportunity to file their own taxes for free online. Our focus in the space is to promote that agencies, nonprofit agencies like yourself, can take a big role educating taxpayers on the availability of free tax services throughout the spectrum. That free and cost services aren't just restricted to vital services, but also there's a great myriad of other things like self-rep services that are available, and it's mix those services in. These already do things like stamp assistance or education. They do a lot of people are partnered with local bank initiatives and bank on initiatives to partner and then bring people to bank accounts. Think of things that you're doing currently at your sites that are really valuable to those clients. And so this is just another tool in that toolkit for you. Great partnership so far. This year we'll have, I think Mike's finished counting this morning, more than 150 community partners, plus partners listed, and the IRS are really bringing a professional and very forward-looking face to this campaign, and we enjoy the partnership because of the way that each of NDI and the United Way Worldwide each bring a very unique distribution network for us. And so the ability to have partners like this in the campaign and partners like yourself help make our job easier as we work to educate taxpayers about those benefits that are available. Go to MyFreeTaxescom. We offer the opportunity for partners to direct count and attribute that traffic to themselves. It's when done through the local IRS offices, we match specific numbers to the returns, and you can get for those returns on your VITA grants or for the VITA accounts. And we provide technical assistance throughout the season and via phone and learn how to adapt these programs to your best community fit. And as well, we offer trainings before and throughout the season online and via phone and web to make sure people are fully aware of how the system works and how things work. The result is you clients, an unlimited number of clients, how to prepare on taxes. It's a completely free federal and state product, and multi-state, any state can file. And so we're looking to cast a wide net and help find filers who can do their own taxes. The best about this project is it allows for some segmentation around the client base. To have some filers who are very eligible, available, and ready to file their own taxes, and then find a resource like that. But it also allows for clients who have a little more difficulty or may need some assistance if they don't speak English as a first language or don't feel comfortable using a computer, or a number of reasons they don't have a computer with them they can file, or you can't provide for them. It allows you to focus your efforts on those families as well, and providing them a sharpened version of VITA that doesn't cloud the system with people who do their own taxes should. People who need help doing their own taxes can get it from you better because you're helping to separate the traffic and support both clients equally. On that note, I will turn it back over to Michael. Thanks.
Lee. And I'd also like to share with everyone on today's webinar that on January 19th at 2 p.m. as part of IRS Really Impact webinar series, we are devoting that webinar presentation on that day to the partnership on MyFreeTaxescom. And so on the webinar, you'll find out more about the partnership and also learn about some great tools that are set up through MyFreeTaxescom. So Lee, thank you so much for saying a few words, and we greatly appreciate the relationship that we have in working on this project together, along with United Way Worldwide. For our main presentation today, I'm pleased to introduce our presenter. Let me just change the slide. Our presenter is Don Dill, who is from the Internal Revenue Service, and he is the Senior Tax Analyst in the IRS-SPEC Division, definitely a good friend to the National Disability Institute. So Don will share with us the top 10 tips for the 2012 tax season. Don, thanks for joining us, and I'm going to turn this over to you.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that introduction. Thank you first and foremost to our great friends at the National Disability Institute and the tremendous work that they have done over the years with a real economic impact, where it has truly made a difference in the lives of millions of persons with disabilities over the years in getting free tax prep help, and more importantly, working towards financial independence. We are thrilled to call them one of our key strategic national partners and look forward to working with them this year and in the future. And of course, a thank you to our good friend Lee Davenport and the great work he and One Economy have done over the years. I truly recommend to all of you who are maybe new to this work today to take a look at his site, MyFreeTaxescom, and see if that's an opportunity for you, because much of what I'll be talking about today is for those who are already probably engaged in the efforts of free tax prep with the IRS and NDI. Obviously, at this point in time, December 15th, it's too late to jump in, except for a great resource like MyFreeTaxescom. So please take a look at that opportunity there. Thank you also to all of you for joining us. I know this is a very busy time of the year, not only with the holidays approaching, but for those of you who are with us and our partners around the country and our SPEC offices locally. I know many of you are already knee-deep in this up-filing season 2012, so thank you for joining us. And first and foremost, from an IRS, we want to thank you for your continued support of this program. It is because of you this program is so successful, reaching over 3.2 million taxpayers to get their taxes done for free, to keep all of their refund, which is a critical piece of this work, and hopefully you, as it is, Lee said, as a springboard to opportunities in asset building and financial independence. So for all your work, we look forward to another filing season, and we'll be looking forward to joining you on these webinars to provide more information. As I put this together today, it's for those of you who had joined us in Boston, you'll see some repetitiveness, so I hope you'll bear with me. But I was thinking, just as we were going through the introduction, this presentation was really focused on folks who are already joined with us in free tax prep. So I'm going to detour just a second from my top 10 tips and give you tip number 11 for those of you who are new to this work. A simple tip. One would be, if you are new to this work, you're representing persons with disability in your local community, my tip to you would be to find a local free tax preparation site in your community. Some of them might go by the name of VITA, or the Income Tax Assistance Program. Some might go by the name of TCE, Tax Counseling for the Elderly, or some might be thought as an ARP site, which is our primary program supporter for TCE. But I ask you, if you are just new to this work, to find one of those sites in your community, seek them out. You'll be able to find, starting in January, where sites are on IRS.gov website. Also look on ARP.org for their sites. And if it's just something new, either get familiar with it, take a look at it, or refer your clients there to get their taxes done free. So the free tip number 11. But I'd like to just jump into these tips and then go through these in detail, and then hopefully at the end of this call we'll have time for questions if you have some. So I thank you for joining us, and I'll just jump right in. Well, I apologize to say off top, for now, for those of you who are deep into the filing season, the good news is at this point on December 15th, we are not anticipating late tax law changes, but as we all know, our friends, that word in quotes, in Congress are still in session. And of course, anything is possible, as those of you who have worked with over the years have learned, but we are now not anticipating any retroactive tax law that would complicate matters even more than they already are. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. We will let you know as soon as we hear anything that would cause that type of change. So hopefully these are some things that, as you've already started into the training process, setting up your sites, hopefully some of these tips will be just something that will remind you of something you probably already done or had done previously, and maybe just a reawakening to some opportunities. And first and foremost on number 10 is to promote the use of savings bonds as a vehicle for folks to start savings process with the tax refunds. It's become easier each year with the good work of friends of ours in this work to defund, and it's available on a Form 888 again this year. The good news is the interest rate just came out on November 1st. The new interest rate for this filing season is a very attractive 3.06% for interest earned on those savings bonds. We'll want you to, if you can, provide opportunity to those of you who are doing free tax prep. Tell people there's an opportunity. Again, this year, if they don't have a bank account, there's no need to be involved in the process. They can simply request bonds and get the remainder in a check. So, again, a great point for first-time savers. It's sort of a program similar to what we're talking about. We have a program called FAST where we are offering what we call free assisted self-service tax preparation services. Again, much like Lee's talking about. We're hoping in our one is that maybe you at a site have somebody that could assist somebody as they create their own tax return. Again, as Lee mentioned in his opening, a great way for folks to get an extra service, but those who need a little less help than some of our folks that come to our typical VITA TCE site, ability to do their return. And one of the things we really think about is an opportunity for them not only to do it this year, but hopefully learn how to do it on their own next year. And as many who are involved in this business know, we served over 3.2 million taxpayers last year at our free sites around the country, but we know from some of our demographic information and survey information there's almost around 19 million people that would like to have an opportunity to get this free service. So if we can use alternative methods such as FAST or MyFreeTaxescom as an opportunity, we could have more resources available for those who might need an assistant hand. So again, consider that as an opportunity in your communities this year. And this probably could be number one too in many regards, is emphasize to all of our to your partners and to your volunteers the critical to capture data. Those who have been with us for the several years know there's an opportunity within our Taxwise software program for volunteers to the taxpayers if they consider them a person with disability, and simply stated we're asking that information for long-term sustainability process. For those of you in the nonprofit sector know that long-term funding is dependent on what you can present to your funders and to other interested parties on what you've accomplished. And so getting this data is not meant to taxpayers or anything, but it's simply going to be used to further enhance the program, whether we in the IRS use it to report back to our internal folks, such as our Congress, to get additional funding. It will also be used in your local communities to get additional funding from nonprofits and from corporations and local and city government. So again, we ask that you really emphasize to volunteers and to partners the correct need for as much data as we can. Number one would be just a couple little things that IRS has hopefully tried to help this filing season. We are, most of you in the community doing this work, we at the IRS are facing some pretty significant budget cuts coming up over the next few years. All of you, I'm sure, are watching the distance back and forth in Washington on budgets for the IRS. It's going to be a significant cut. And we, like you, believe that this program is a critical program in our communities and for those we serve. And so our goal is to find ways to make this program not only more efficient, effective, but more cost efficient. So what we want to do is not only find ways to do it internally, but we want to find ways that allow you to prepare the taxes do it more efficiently and effectively. So one of the ways we did it is a Form 8879 that a taxpayer signs off to say they authorize an e-file. In the past, are required to keep this or mail it to the IRS. And so what we have the waiver on this year is that retention requirement. And we'll hope that'll be just a small piece of work cut out of the burden that's already on your volunteers, and hopefully save some resources simply in terms of printing costs. You also see down there some action on resetting of passwords. We know that's a burden on volunteers as you try to secure all the taxpayer data in the most effective way you can. Oftentimes that requires the use of passwords, and we all know in today's world there's way too many passwords to remember, so it's very often the passwords are forgotten. And so this is a way that we have worked with Taxwise to make that a little simpler. I hope you'll take a look at that and make note of the changes we've allowed on that regard. Basically, for those who have been long-term players with us, and is the software program, the tax software program that the IRS provides partners to complete free taxes in their local community. Clearly struggles with Taxwise over the past few years. Many of them are problems created by themselves, many of them due to late tax law that I mentioned earlier in the call, some programming changes by the IRS in what we call modernized e-file, and quite frankly that are due to Taxwise. But I want you to know one of our commitments to you as our partners and working in the local communities is we're working diligently with them to enhance customer service. For those of you who use product day in and day out, we want to improve their customer service. And the ways we want to do that for everybody is, quite frankly, just to cut down the need to call them. And what we have worked with them on is to enhance and improve the training products and offerings that are available to all of our partners through the web this year. And what they've done is they have taken their training, which historically was, if you will, in a bundle. And it's a big bundle, obviously, because there's a lot of topics that you could go over. But what we've asked them and what they've accomplished is to bundle that training and make it into small segments. Most of their segments now are in the 7 to 10 minute range and are very specific on topics. So for those volunteers who are having problems with passwords or with the e-filing portion or rejects, they can find that topic that their needs and get straight into that topic and hopefully utilize their time most effectively by going to the topics they need. What we need, you, our partners, and from those who are actually doing it is quite frankly for an uptake and a utilization of those training products. Last year, we probably only had about 8,000 hits on their training products. So we're asking for you to really redouble your efforts, if you will, on training and to use those opportunities. As you see here on that slide, we had, I mentioned 8,000 training opportunities, but we had our partners and volunteers need or had to call their customer service over 63,000 times. So what we're hoping is by utilizing their training, maybe we can cut those calls significantly. It would make the process more effective for them, but more I think would make it more important for your volunteers. They don't want to be sitting on a hold or asking questions that they could have an answer more efficiently and effectively on the web. So please take a look at training opportunities. Talk to your local SPEC relationship manager if you need more information on where to find that. And again, we really encourage you to take advantage of those opportunities. As we started getting into some of the, if you will, more of the nitty-gritty of doing taxes, number 5 is simply just work with us, and I know each and every one of you on this call that is doing free taxes is doing exactly this, but to make sure we increase the accuracy of our returns. The accuracy of returns can't understate it. It dual two very important aspects to it. One, first and foremost, is we want the folks that we're serving to get an accurate tax return. We want them to get the refund they're entitled to, they've earned. We do not want to shortchange them in any aspect. Secondarily, you don't want them to be facing any downstream compliance efforts by the IRS because the return was correct. As all of you probably know, our system is a look-back system. Return will go in incorrectly, if you will, with incorrect information and be accepted by the IRS. And then 12 to 18 months down the line, one sneaky little letters will come out from the IRS saying the return was done incorrectly. So what we want to avoid, what you want to avoid, I know from talking to many of you face to face, we don't want our volunteer or taxpayers in that position to have to answer back to the IRS somewhere down the road. So we are again asking you to, if you will, to redouble your efforts to complete quality of review of each and every return that goes out of your site. As it simply says on the slide, no one is perfect, especially when it comes to taxes, when it comes to multiple facts and circumstances of a case. That simple second set of eyes will often catch things that somebody just, honestly overlooked or wasn't clear about in their discussions with the taxpayers. And it says that it only takes a few minutes, but it literally could save hours and thousands of dollars of frustration for those we're serving down the line. So I really emphasize that opportunity to you. Again, that same tone and increasing your returns is the process up front. We have those of you working with us over the year know that we have a very detailed intake and interview sheet. I can tell I've heard from you that it's a cumbersome product. It takes a lot of time. It does. And unfortunately, the tax process is cumbersome. And what this process does, though, most importantly, is allows you as a volunteer preparing a tax return for someone most likely you've never met before, to ask the right questions, to make sure you've gotten all the information. Because again, most of the clients coming to you for tax preparation help don't know what to put on a tax return, don't know what's taxable, don't know what they should include or don't need to include. And that's what this process is all about. I forgot to mention on the earlier slide, the other part about accuracy of returns is it really is an important cog in long-term sustainability of this program. For those of you who worked with us last year know that the Treasury Inspector General for the Treasury Administration did a report on the free tax program last year, and unfortunately we had some incidents of stellar quality. Unfortunately, those type of instances make their way into the public sector and really do it tarnish the image of what we're doing. Accurate returns well into the 90% by the measure that we have that are statistically valid. But yet one story, one person not getting the right refund, all it takes in today's technology is for that to spread. So again, we ask you to really ensure that your volunteers, your partners are ensuring that accurate returns are doing and the quality review and ensuring detailed interview and intake process completed are ways to accomplish that. Number three, again, as I alluded to earlier, we are here at SPEC, actually, if you will, catching up to you. You out in the field in the nonprofit sectors are starting to feel the pinch of budget constraints and cuts. And we are, as we speak, going through a downsizing of our organization. And what it's going to cause us all to do in terms of keeping this program viable for many, many years to come, which it's been a program that's been in existence in excess of 40 years and has helped tens of millions of taxpayers get billions of dollars of refunds. It's a vital and important program in each and every one of your communities. But what we need to do is make sure we are optimizing all available resources in the years to come. And what you hear us talking to you about over the next months and years is trying to find ways to do it more cost effectively. One of them we'll hear about pretty soon is a need for us transitioning as we can to electronic products and other training options. Obviously in today's sector, are pretty costly processes when electronic processes are available that are much more cost effective. So we'll ask you to work with us. We are not asking you today to commit to do anything electronically or never using paper again. That's not an appropriate response. But what we are going to do is ask you to work with us, find ways to find alternatives where we can work together to utilize resources electronically where possible, and that need to be in print. But we'll work together with you. We'll look forward to discussions with you on ways to find the best avenues to accomplish our cost savings that we are going to need to accomplish over the next few years. Is again this increasing confidence in the free tax preparation program. As I alluded to earlier on the slide, we are facing a number of challenges. We have this bad publicity that existed due to last year's filing season and a couple incidents where volunteers did not do the right thing and prepared knowingly false tax returns. That's created some publicity that has, in some corners, tarnished some great work we do, but not in a really detrimental way. But what we want to do is work with you to make sure that doesn't happen again. And one of the ways you're going to see if those who haven't gone through much of our new training this year is we are going to really highlight our ethical standards, ensuring that everybody understands required of them as a volunteer with very critical and private information of our taxpayers that we serve. The need to safeguard that, to be diligent with it is paramount in every day that we're open. We mentioned are going to really face some challenging economic and budget times. And again, I am aware of working with partners like NDI and One Economy and others of those of you on the phone. I know you've been facing it. It's to us, now that we're facing it, it becomes an issue of higher importance, but that's not true. I know it's been important to you for years, but again, we'll need to work together. I think the key, as I've mentioned in my discussions with the national partners I work with, including ARP and the National NC, the National Community Tax Coalition, is we need to work together to figure out ways that we can streamline our process, make our program more alluring to volunteers who are the lifeline of this program. Also, to find ways to decrease the burden on our volunteers and our partners, whether that's in terms of time it takes to complete returns or in the cost of doing returns, printing, other to do increase time and cost. We'll work together with you on that. So no discussions are going to be challenging. Some of them are going to go against ways all of us have been doing this over the years. It's time to take a fresh look in many cases. So we'll look forward to those discussions. As I said, in the months and years ahead, and appreciate any constructive feedback you can share with us on ways that we can do this more efficiently and effectively. And last but not least, what I mentioned earlier is ways to show the importance program to increase funding is our ability to serve more taxpayers. Again, we have made tremendous strides. For those of you who started working with us, I know there's some of you that started with us 4+ years ago. In 1970, this tax program served 100,000 taxpayers, which is a tremendous result. By the time 2000 reached and our organization, SPEC, stood up, we were serving about 1 million taxpayers per year. And then with the help of community partners like yourselves, in just 7 years, we went 1 million to 3 million taxpayers, which is just a sustainable growth, but in a truly remarkable growth pattern over years. But the last 3 or 4 years, we stuck around that 3 million. We've reached 3.2, which is a great number. But each and every one of you in the work you do on a day-to-day basis know it's easy for critics and funders to go, well, what have you done for me lately? Unfortunately, that's where we are in many sectors of where we're trying to reach out to, whether it's with additional partners or with funders or with government agencies that support us. They're saying, what have you done for me lately? But one of the simple and easiest ways, I shouldn't say it's easy, it's not easy, but it's just to simply serve more people. Again, as I said to you throughout this call, that's what we're trying to do, whether it's partnering with good friends like One Economy with MyFreeTaxes, taking opportunities, as I mentioned, with our FAST program. You'll also can talk to some of your local community partners about doing what we're calling virtual taxes, where we're going to use technology to the extent possible to do this maybe less face-to-face than we have over the years, and that'll be something that's probably hard for many of us to grasp. We're so used to sitting across from the table from a taxpayer. But we work together over these next months and years of making sure this wild program stays strong and it has the funding it needs to get the work done. We'll have to figure out ways to do this together. So those are briefly some of my tips for this year. Again, before I turn it back to Michael and I take a look at some of these questions that are starting to roll in, we'll try to respond to many of these in our time left. I do want to thank you for not only taking your time today to be on this call, but time you've committed not only in the years past, but I know the time you're getting ready to commit in the days and months ahead in this 2012 filing season. We, the IRS and SPEC especially, are very appreciative of all you do, and I know the taxpayers and the communities you serve, all going to have the voice to thank you, are extremely appreciative of the opportunity you provide them to not only get their taxes done accurately, to get the maximum refund they've earned and are entitled to, but simply a way to save some needed resources by not having to pay tax preparation fees. So again, thank you for all you do. Michael, thank you for the opportunity, and I'll turn it back to you for comments as I take a look at some of these questions that have come in during my presentation.
Great. Thank you, and thank you for sharing this information with us and the attendees on this call today. What we'd like to do now is to open this up for questions. If anyone has a question, they can type it in the Q&A box. If you have any questions specifically for Don. Don, as we're waiting for people to send in their questions to us, could you share with us some of the best links on the IRS website? I know that yesterday we received the ITC link. So could you just highlight a couple of the best spots to be our go-to resource on your website?
Great, Michael. And for those who have surfed the IRS.gov website, it's not the most user-friendly. What I would recommend that you go to this function, IRS.gov, type in the keyword that you want to do, and two of them or three of them I'd like to highlight would be one, certainly the EITC seats that Michael mentioned. We have a lot of good information about earned income tax credit, some outreach products there, and ways you can create some marketing materials on your own, customize them to your needs. Certainly take a look at that. We also have, if you would type in savings bonds, good information on savings bonds, some tools up there. And if you type in community partner, we have a community partner page that has a lot of good information about different opportunities for partners, including information about both the VITA and TCE program. So clearly recommend that you go to, obviously, the good website our friends at NDI do. I mentioned our friends at the National Community Tax Coalition have a lot of good resources. You can reach there at tax-coalition.org. And some of the partners that all of us, many of us on this call work with, D2D Fund for savings bonds. this from budget and policy priorities for their EITC toolkit. But again, a number of good resources that you can take advantage of. And certainly for those of you who are new to this is a program that has some very good legs to it. And so there's not much need to invent the wheel. Really, it's just a matter of stepping out and reaching out to partners who have already been engaged in this, who are willing and happy to share their best practices with you. So I recommend you, if you're working with our local SPEC offices, to reach out to them. You can reach out through REI and through some of these other partners I mentioned and get the information you need. Michael, and if I would, I'd take or two of these items I've seen in my mailbox. One person is for some clarification on the point I made about some false tax returns. Question simply states, why would somebody do that? And to be honest with you, some intentions were well meant, trying to save taxpayers some money. The cases involved self-employed taxpayers, which is a little bit more complicated return, and simply say they were in a position where they had cash income. Who work with us over time, and I'm sure 99.9% of you on the phone realize that income is taxable whether you receive it by check or cash or credit card. But again, simply stated, they thought that that's not a traceable money that they find, and they advised the payer not to report that money. And unfortunately for us, those instances were being monitored by our TIGDA folks as mid-shoppers, so it was done that. Unfortunately, one or two other instances involved people literally stealing refunds, and it's unfortunate, and it's something we will continue to work on as with partners to do so. There are very rare instances. I hate to belabor the point. They were, way less than 10 out of over 3.2 million opportunities for things to happen. But yet, again, today's technology-savvy world, it doesn't take but one story to get out there to impact a product, like I said, that has tremendous integrity for over 40 years. So again, all we're simply asking you as our partners and volunteers, if you're on the phone, is to just work with us to enhance returns and ensuring that our volunteers know that they need to returns accurately, both for the program and for the taxpayer they're serving. And then I see a question here about work volunteer with local VR, vocational rehab agencies in the state, and that's certainly a great idea. If you are with them or a local community partner, I'd love to reach out to us if you have some additional work. We are working with them in many instances, but it is a facts and circumstances driven on a way to get that accomplished. So we would be happy to discuss that in greater detail with you on that. So,
and Don,
you.
Yeah, it is a question, two additional questions that came in the Q&A, and I'm not sure if Lee Davenport is still on, but the question comes from Peter Stahl, our good friend Peter. He says, what is the MyFreeTaxes website again, and then how will the VITA site get credit for tax returns prepared through that?
Thanks, Michael. The MyFreeTaxes.com is it's just MyFreeTaxes.com. We actually just put this up yesterday. It's been in hibernation for since October 15th or so, and it's got a new look and feel to it. That website allows us, so we have partner aliases. We have 150 partners. We have around 300 or maybe a little more than 300 or so now, specific links that allow a partner like yourself to track specific traffic. So when on local marketing materials or Well, when you're at the site with a tax coach present, and a first tax coach is an intermediate or second year tax volunteer, because it just takes kind of 1 year of being comfortable with taxes to be good at coaching someone else, because you're really giving away the control to the client. And it's a comfortable place to be if you're comfortable with taxes and people. So when we have tax coach present, someone who can answer tax law questions decided by the IRS, they give you a link that just says myfreetaxes.com/partner alias whatever, specific to you and you only. And when you file a return with that link and that link, then we track the progress of that return in aggregate and return the results to you, and at the end, which is great. So you get if the account was created, if the return is filed, and then assuming we're compliant with IRS regulations, then we can return the aggregated mix. One thing that the IRS has been really helpful with in the past few years is allowing us to apply for the tax nerd out there, like me. There's something called the Site Identification Number, or the SIDN. That code it's a code that starts with an S. We'll take that code from you and we'll apply it to that return. So that partner alias or whatever it is, we'll load the SIDN into the URL, and so that code, that identification number specific only to your site or collection of sites, is loaded into that return, and it stays with that return throughout the process. And so that when that return hits the IRS in a phase after you start, then that will be coded that way, and everyone will know, at least in the IRS, where the return came from, and will be able to know that report that it came from you. So if you're interested, and anyone on this call is interested, make an appointment to call your local SPEC officer, the communications person that you have that works with your sites or your local tax agencies. Make a phone call to someone like Holly, who's in Sacramento, who just wrote me. Ask her for a specific ID number that you can use for this project, for the facilitated self-assistance project, and that you ask for this, and then you apply the code for you. Everything's free. The IRS, of course, provides great free services. So they'll be able to navigate that process too, because they've done hundreds for us at this point.
Great, thank you. And Don, it looks like we have an IRS question.
Oh, I'm myself off mute. I'm sorry.
Do you see the
thank
question?
You. And
great.
And I think you're on track on that one. I like your last comment too much. The question is we requiring all volunteers at tax sites to take this examination I talked about regarding ethics. And I'll tell you, Beth, we were trial and error. Once we that brought it to our attention, we definitely have reconsidered it, but unfortunately, and I don't want to bore with our timelines, but we had an early timeline on that requirement. And so we'll take that into account next year. We apologize. Obviously, the answers to all 5 of the questions are in the training. And so we looked at them and figured, you don't need to get 100%. There's clearly at least 4 or 5, even by a greeter, would be answered correctly. If you have a problem with the greeter, please just reach out to your local SPEC relationship manager for some intervention, if you will. But it's a great point. Was not made. We're not to hold to a higher standard. We were simply, in a process trying to figure a one size fits all. Trying to make it less burdensome on everybody, when in fact that makes it more burdensome on those who are really doing us a great favor by being greeters and screeners. So appreciate your comment on that, and look for some work on that next year.
Great. Are there last minute any questions here. I think we've answered them all that have come through. I would like to say thank you to Lee Davenport with One Economy. I'd like to say thank you to Dill with the Internal Revenue Service and for being such a valued partner to the National Disability Institute's Real Economic Impact Tour. I'd also like to say thank you to Nakia Matthews, who is part of the NDI team and is our technology guru who is facilitating all of this for me. And so we greatly appreciate Nakia Matthews and behind the scenes and everything that she's doing. I would to remind you that on January 19th at 2 p.m., the webinar will be devoted to MyFreeTaxescom. So please join us for that webinar. Also, as you close out of this, as we end the call, you will receive a survey. Please feel free to, please complete that survey and provide feedback on topics that you would like to have learned about, and we'll be sure to try to put that in our schedule. Also, this webinar is recorded, so you are able to go to our website and listen to a recording to share it with your colleagues who may not have been able to join us today. The information will also, the PowerPoint presentation will also be on our website, and you'll be able to use that as well. I encourage you to sign up for the Economic Impact Tour listserv. The listserv was created based on feedback from our partners across the country who said that they wanted to be able to communicate directly with their colleagues across the country who are working to build disability inclusive communities of practice. And our partners are sharing great resources and tools and asking amazing questions, and it really enhances collaboration amongst the partners across the country. So if you could send an email to this long email address there, then that will sign you up, and resources and tools will come on that on a regular basis as well. Nika, is there anything else I did not mention? Okay. So with that, I want to say thank you again to everyone for participating, and we wish everyone a happy holiday, and we look forward to speaking to you all on January 19th. Thank you, and have a great day.